Ghost with Cats, Chapter 23, Allies and Enemies. A tall woman with dark green eyes sat in a comfortable office watching a video on something called YouTube. She smiled evilly at the end. Lady Kali of Ashrath's plans were already in motion. She pushed the call button. Ben's assistant came in. She held up the tablet containing the information on Dr. Annie Winters-Dove. Brad, how quickly can you get me to a place called Galveston, Texas? She asked the tall, thin man. Our Southern Division is based in New Orleans. I can fly you there in a few hours. Then you can sail the company yacht and there by the next evening. Or I can fly you to Houston and have you driven there in a few hours, I believe. Brad knew she hated traveling by car. Forgive me, Lady Kali, but I do not believe Dr. Dove is going to Galveston. Dr. Bence is wrong. He knew she liked to be called lady like she was royalty. The alien frowned at him. Why? Her father once owned another beach house further down the coast. It belonged to his late uncle. I found out that her publisher from New York rented it under an alias, according to a neighbor, he explained. Are you certain? Oh, yes, my lady. There are very few platinum blonde New York socialites who would give up spending New Year's Eve in the Big Apple for an empty coastal town in Texas. Dr. Dove is heading to her late great-uncle's house in Matagorda, Brad promised. Kali smiled in her lupine way. He wondered if she would reward him the way she had when he found Dr. Dove's birth mother's family retreat in the mountains near Wolf Creek Pass, Colorado. She mocked Dr. Bence when his mercs failed to capture Dr. Dove, the Admant, and his servants. It was gratifying to see his powerful boss humiliated by the woman from another world after he spent the night with her. Make the arrangements, my pet, and send them a surprise, a gift for the upcoming holiday celebration. I have something I would like you to add to it. Let Dale chase his folly. We have prey to pursue, she purred. Brad bowed and left. Kali smirked. Such a loyal pet, so eager to please in every way, and so easily turned from his former master. The creatures of this world were far easier to manage than she ever dreamed. Kali looked back at the tablet. She would capture the Admant herself, and possibly this female. She did find Dr. Dove to be intriguing. She did not understand all of the terms used in the rabbit hole report, but it didn't matter to her. Dr. Dove had once killed several males in one night and then burned their compound to the ground. Therefore, she must be a singularly vicious creature. And now she was allied with Tall, who must not know of her deadly past as a killer of males, or he would refuse her company. Unless there was something else. She wondered about the real nature of Dr. Dove. Humans used such strange terms when they described things. They also used the word redacted when they couldn't explain something logically, such as how a normal human female like Dr. Dove had suddenly been cured of a fatal dose of radiation by a strange light, according to an anonymous witness. But Kali knew. One of her kind had saved Dr. Dove from death 7 Earth years ago, and again a day ago. Her rival was a truly fortunate female. She wondered exactly what it was that Dr. Annie Winters-Dove offered to secure such loyalty and protection. The undefeated Admatmanthal was now vulnerable to death. In 2 days, he would be in her bed. She would take a child from him and his ink, and then she would kill him herself and drink his heart blood. Annie woke up the next morning. It was New Year's Eve. Sharon was sitting at her bedside, reading a printed editor's copy of her latest Ghost. Her best friend always looked so stylish, even in a simple sweater and jeans. Soft suede boots rested on the edge of the bed as Sharon sipped from a mug before turning a page. "Hey, lady," Annie whispered. "Annalise, you should write your real adventures into a book of your own instead of ghostwriting others' pretend adventures," Sharon declared, hugging her. "They're too crazy to be good fiction," Annie sighed, then asked, "Is everything ready?" "Yep. Starting the morning after, we run the wild goose chase. My credit cards are already buying things all over the place, probably driving them nuts. It is going to be a lot of fun." Sharon sounded like she was looking forward to being bait. "But tonight, New Year's Eve, New York style, darling." Annie laughed, refusing. "Oh my God, no. I lost 3 days last time. I got 2 tattoos and ended up filing for a restraining order." "How about I promise you only lose 1 day, no tattoos or TROs, and you tell me about these beautiful creatures you showed up with?" "Uncle Isaac says they're cousins of angels or something like that," Sharon whispered conspiratorially. "Or something like that. I'll tell you all I can, but it is a strange tale. Stranger than some of the sci-fi you have me proofread." Annie giggled, shaking her head. "As pretty as they are, who cares how bad their story is? Miss Sharon will make it all better." Sharon winked outlandishly before she laughed aloud, making Annie giggle again. As much of a cougar as Sharon pretended, Annie knew it was all a tease. Sharon had never gotten over her lost Schmel. Pops waited for the secure call from his oldest muse. There was a lot they needed to discuss. Winston sat in a comfortable high-back leather chair with a snifter of cognac. "She really is holding it together well. But if what we heard out of Texas is true," the retired JAG officer trailed off. "Any idea where she would head from there?" "No, and I can't reach Sharon." The old writer sounded testy as he poured himself a caskmate's whiskey. "If this Pandora stuff is half as dangerous as what has been unclassified makes it out to be, I wonder what they aren't telling the public." Winston mused aloud. "Annie said it could end the world, and from the documents on Rabbit Hole that I sent Derek, it scares me that Bence is even playing with it. It could make the Manhattan Project or Coral Atoll look like a firecracker in a mailbox." "So she thinks it caused the tsunamis in India and Japan?" Winston asked as he lifted Gregory onto his lap. "Over 200,000 died in those natural disasters." "She says she knows it did. The energy signature was unmistakable." "The science of it is way above my pay grade," Pops added. Both laughed. In their active duty days, they did a lot that was above their pay grade. Pops's computer chimed, and he clicked a button. "Derek, old man, good to see you." A friendly voice laughed from the other end. "If this is about Utah, there's no story here. I had nothing to do with it." Pops chuckled, refuting. No, I already have the minnow on the hook with that story. I need to know everything you know about the tsunamis which hit India and Japan. There was a pause. India, huh? You know that's where DJ lost Autumn. We know. We might be on the track of the real cause, Pops explained. We? Winston and I. I thought the cause in both cases were unusually strong earthquakes, Derek replied cautiously. Winston stepped into view of the camera. We wish, but it looks like the earthquakes were triggered. What the hell could trigger a 9.0? Derek demanded, because he had lost his daughter-in-law and future grandchild in India that Christmas Day. Omni-Energy Research, Ops announced with finality. The dashing, dark-haired man with the beginning of silver temples rubbed his light green eyes before asking, I read the file you sent. Does this have anything to do with Rabbit Hole and not Alice? Only everything. General Paul Fenton was not happy when Dale Bence walked into his office without knocking. You sent for me? Bence looked put out at being asked to come in. What the hell do you think you were doing in Texas? The general growled. Following a lead on your little friend. Since her tracker ended up in the port of San Diego, someone had to find her and my prisoners. Bence hissed like the entitled snake he was. The general's eyes narrowed as he took in Bence's tailored clothes and manicured nails. Why should he be surprised that Bence could bitch like a woman? Well, if you hadn't tried to kill her in Vegas, maybe she would have contacted me again. Bence flicked an imaginary speck of dust off his sleeve. It was a miscommunication. Miscommunication between you and your private army? Or between you and the fact that you are in the United States and can't pull the crap you pull overseas? Bence practically rolled his eyes, and Paul wondered just how many more off-book operations he was running in the States. Changing tactics, Paul attacked another issue. Dr. Winters-Dove seems to think Omni-Energy Research caused the tsunamis in India and Japan. The operation in Utah was supposed to be research only and not actually building a Pandora generator. But you let that idiot Fretz not only build one, but run it long enough that aliens came to shut it down. You have put me in a very bad position, Dale. And if I am in a very bad position, then you are in a very, very bad position. I want Dr. Dove and the aliens alive. You will turn them over to me if you catch them. If you harm them, or if we get invaded because of you and your group, he left the threat unfinished. Dale seethed with rage, but he kept his face passive, his tone patronizing. Of course, Paul. I know you feel responsible for her after what happened to her and her parents, but I assure you it is not my intention to harm the last link to Dr. Basha Winter's work. As for the aliens, I am simply as curious about them as you are, if they actually are aliens. But whomever they are yours when I catch them. The general leaned back, eyeing him. The silence stretched. Bence forced himself to not shift on his feet. General Fenton was one of the few people in the world he could not read. Finally, the general spoke again. That is good to hear. Update me as soon as your employees acquire them. Have a good day, Dale. Bence forced a pleasant smile. You too, Paul. He was on his phone before he got into his car. Paul watched the chauffeur nodding before closing the door and driving away. He buzzed his top team of investigators. Gibson, I want to keep a government contractor named Dr. Dale Bence under simple observation. No warrants for taps or electronic surveillance yet. He's a person of interest in a missing person case. And I want everything on a researcher named Basha Winters-Dove, and the names and status and locations of everyone she ever worked with on a project called Pandora. Start with a classified file called Rabbit Hole and work backward. I want to know if anyone is still alive that can tell me why the hell Bence wants it so bad. Downstairs in a Matagorda beach house, the two human men couldn't hear what the women were saying upstairs as they listened to them laughing loudly. Yuri, Sharon's driver and bodyguard, and Boaz stared at the ceiling with worried expressions. Uh-oh, Yuri groaned. What now? Boaz asked. Miss Sharon wants to have a New York-style New Year's Eve at the other house. It sounds like she might be talking Miss Annalise into it, Yuri explained. We tell her no, Boaz responded firmly with a scowl. Yuri snorted derisively. Oh yeah, right. I remember the last time you tried to tell her no. How did that work out for you? That was different, Boaz defended himself. Yuri just snorted again. Is there going to be a problem? Tal asked. That depends on how easily you can say no to Miss Sharon. She can be very insistent and very persuasive, Boaz explained. That's only because I'm a lonely widow without children who hates to spend the holidays alone. You make me sound horrible, Boaz. I just want everyone to come over for dinner and a few drinks to watch the ball drop in New York. They are 2 hours ahead of Texas time, so midnight there is 10 p.m. here. She looked incredibly sad. I am a long way from my friends on New Year's Eve because my Annie needs me. It isn't a big request. Boaz gritted out. Oh, really? Yes, really, Boaz. You can always call your sons or grandsons. I lost my Schmale, and I am left alone. Tonight I would like some company. Does that make me a bad person? She pouted. Tal felt bad for her. He looked at Bourne, who shrugged and nodded, then answered for his master. Lady Sharon, we would be honored to join you. She smiled brightly at him. Oh, you're so sweet. I'll go shopping now. Do you require assistance preparing? Bourne offered. It seemed to surprise her that he did. Oh, yes, that would be lovely. Thank you. I'll ring you when I get back. She smiled brilliantly at Bourne again, who bowed slightly to her. He thought she was a very lovely female, with her platinum hair and pale blue eyes. He held the door for her as she left, and she rewarded him with another breathtaking smile. Yuri and Boaz just shook their heads. The night was going to be interesting. Sharon's parties always were.